Welcome everyone. Welcome everyone. Welcome everyone to another Ref Brandon and the Todd family YouTube video. Wherever you are, whatever you may be doing, thank you so much for making Ref Brandon and the Todd family a part of your day. We always greatly appreciate it. Happy September to everybody out there. My twins, first thing this morning, about 5:30, said, "Daddy, it's the first day of September. My phone told me it was." Today here on the channel, I want to talk some college football. I know we still have a game tonight and a game tomorrow night, and I'll try to talk about them coming up later on in the week sometime. Still got to talk about the bash at Berlin that happened yesterday in WWE, but today let's talk some college football. Thursday night we had North Carolina and Minnesota. North Carolina wins the game 19-17 on a touchdown and 4 field goals. Minnesota missed 2 field goals, including one as time expired, which I still don't understand because their kicker missed a 27-yard field goal, and I believe the first quarter from the right hash mark. And then with 3 seconds to go in the game, they line up from 47 yards out from the right hash mark. But they ran a play before that, so you would at least think, well, if the kicker missed a 27-yard field goal from the right hash mark, let's get to the middle of the field and kick it straight. Nope. They got on the right hash mark, and again, he hooked it to the right. North Carolina might be in for a long season offensively. Not that it matters because they've had back-to-back NFL first-round draft pick quarterbacks, and they've done nothing with them. But for whatever reason, they had Connor Harrell on last year's team as the backup, and I guess they had no confidence in him, so they went out and got Max Johnson, who was absolutely atrocious, to be their starting quarterback, which tells you how little faith they have in Connor Harrell, because Connor Harrell cannot throw the ball at all, but Max Johnson cannot run at all, and you hate to see an injury happen, but Max Johnson was injured in, I think, the third quarter, and I believe he's out for the season. Connor Harrell actually helps their offense, though, because he can run. So with him, they have the run-pass option. With Max Johnson, you don't have that because you know the running back is getting the ball. Max Johnson ain't keeping it. But I think he was 12 for 19 for 71 yards, which is basically 6 yards per completion, which tells you he can't throw. He's got the most rubber arms you've ever seen. He couldn't throw from your front car window on the driver's side to your front car window on the passenger side. He just has a rubber arm, noodle arm, whatever you want to call it. But North Carolina wins 19-17. NC State wins over Western Carolina. The only reason I even wrote this game down is because it was closer than the experts thought, which happens first game of the season because in college football you don't have any preseason, and they always say the defense is ahead of the offense. Western Carolina was actually ahead 21-17, and NC State scored 3 touchdowns in the fourth quarter and wins 38-21. But NC State's offensive line looked pitiful. If they block like that this week and they play Tennessee, they will get absolutely demolished. They look okay on defense, a little slow in some areas, but okay for the most part. Their offensive line looked pitiful. And if they can't block Western Carolina, they might get destroyed by Tennessee this week. Michigan State wins 16-10. The only reason that's notable is because they scored 16 against Florida Atlantic. So, yeah, they win the game, but if you only score 16 against Florida Atlantic, then your offense has a long way to go. In a game, I said Friday would probably be close. TCU and Stanford, it was close. TCU wins the game 34-27. Most of the country probably didn't see the game unless they recorded the game because it came on so late Friday night. But TCU wins by 1 touchdown. Colorado beats North Dakota State 31-26. North Dakota State had a Hail Mary as time expired that landed at the 4-yard line, so they were that close. But Deion Sanders is more worried about what the media says than coaching football. Colorado has great talent, but that has turned into a complete sideshow, a complete freak show that's doing more harm than good. He's already banned one writer for saying they sucked last year, when reality is they sucked last year. And after the game, Thursday night, he said, y'all media wanted us to lose, but we won. Who cares what the media says? Go out there and coach football. And then Georgia beat Clemson 34-3. If you follow the channel and have for a while, I've said since June that Georgia would win the game. I had Georgia winning 27-17, and I said if the game was closer than 10 points, Georgia should shut down their football program because Georgia was a better team, and they were. I did think Clemson would have a little more offense than they had, only because I bought into all the hype. The offense has sucked for 3 years, and all I heard all off season was, oh, it's so much better. And then game time come around, and they had 76 yards in the first half. Clemson's defense was dominant. Georgia only scored 6 in the first half. But I firmly believe that by halftime, the defense was like, forget this. We're not going out here and killing ourselves to keep us in the game when we can't score. So we're not going to win. And after a while, that would happen. It would suck to be a defensive player and be a top 10 defense year after year after year like Clemson has, but your offense can't score. Yeah, Phil Moffa's good, but you can't give Phil Moffa the ball 35 times because the defense knows he's getting the ball. You have to have some type of passing game. They don't have it. We heard it was Brandon Streeter's fault. Brandon Streeter got fired. Garrett Riley comes along, and the offense looks the same, if not worse. I think it's the wide receivers. For whatever reason, our wide receivers are awful. We only have 2 that go downfield, and all they do is run downfield. That's Adam Randall and Turner. Yeah, they have speed, but if all you're going to do is run a straight line and not try to find the football, having speed does you no good. Every other receiver is 5 or 6 yards, and that's it. So basically, you have a run game and a pass game that is really a run game. And you're not going to beat elite teams when you have no downfield passing threat at all. Clemson's no longer an elite team, and that's why I thought Georgia would win the game, and they did, and they should. But if you recall the days when Clemson beat Alabama twice to win the national championship both times, they beat Georgia, they beat LSU, they beat Ohio State, they beat Auburn. They basically beat every elite team in America that they played over a 5 or 6 year stretch. They're still going to win games because they still have talent, but back in those days, it didn't matter who Clemson played. You knew if they weren't going to win the game, it was going to be competitive. Those days are gone. Now, if they line up and play somebody with just as much talent, if not more, they're not going to lose. They're going to get demolished. So they will lose the game again sometime this year. That's why when I did my Clemson prediction, I said 10-2. They should go 11-1 and lose to Georgia and win the rest of their games, but their offense is so inconsistent, they'll lose again somewhere, and they will. And with that offense, if they by some chance make it to the conference championship game, they'll lose it too, because you have to be able to score. You can have a top 10 defense, which they do every year, but if you can't score, that defense does you no good. And their offense right now is missing in action. It is completely broken, and until they figure out why it's broken and how it's broken, I don't think that firing Garrett Riley does you any good, because we thought it was Brandon Streeter. Well, obviously, it wasn't him. So if that didn't fix it, you fire Garrett Riley, it's going to be the same thing all over again. They've got to figure out why the offense is broken and why nobody on the offense seems to get better. They've got talent, but these guys come in as 4 stars and they leave as 3 stars. I don't know what's happened, but the offense is completely broken. Iowa defeats Illinois State 40-0, and that's only relevant because Iowa scored 40 points. Last year, it'd take them 3 games to score 40 points. Vanderbilt defeats Virginia Tech 34-27. Vanderbilt's got a really good quarterback. I think his name is Diego Pavia. He's a transfer, but he's good. But it looked like going into the season that Vanderbilt's offensive line was garbage, and they had no run game, and they had no receivers. So it looked like they had a good quarterback, but that was all they had. But they actually looked pretty good on offense. Yesterday, another game that had a weather delay, Penn State, West Virginia. Penn State wins 34-12. I thought the Mountaineers' offense would do more. It didn't. In a game between 2 bitter rivals, Miami was all over Florida. If you recall, a couple of years ago, Florida played Utah, first game of the season, and Utah was the better team, and as the year went on, Utah got better and better, Florida got worse and worse, and I kind of thought that's the way this game would go. I did my prediction for Miami a couple months ago, and I said they'll probably win 10 or 11 games. Even if they lose to Florida, they've got a chance to win out after that because the Hurricanes are really good this year. I thought Florida would win this game because they were the home team, first game of the season. No pressure on them because everybody expects Florida to win 5 games max. So I thought Florida would win this game, and then as the year went on, Florida get worse, Miami get better. Didn't happen. This game after the first quarter was all Miami. Florida's in for a long year. South Carolina struggles to defeat Old Dominion 23-19. Old Dominion was up 19-16 in the fourth quarter. The Gamecocks scored late to win the game, but it was ugly, and the Gamecocks offense looked absolutely atrocious. I had them winning 4 or 5 games, and that was including Old Dominion, so it almost dropped by 1 game. But the Gamecocks are not beating anybody with a pulse this year because they look pitiful on offense. Texas Tech has to go to overtime and defeat Abilene Christian 52-51. UCLA defeats Hawaii in their first game post Chip Kelly 16-13. And you talk about a team that's went backwards in a hurry. That's the Houston Cougars. They played UNLV, who has historically been one of the worst teams in football for 20 years. And UNLV defeats Houston 27-7. Arkansas State defeats Central Arkansas 34-31. And a couple of games that I'm keeping track of because I said these teams would battle to see who is the best group of 5 team this year. That's Liberty, Boise State, and Appalachian State. I think Liberty is the best, but because their schedule is absolutely pathetic, they'll get no love. So if Appalachian State or Boise State go 11-1 or 10-2, and Liberty goes 12-0, Boise State or Appalachian State might get the automatic bid because the Liberty is going to be docked points because they play nobody. But Liberty defeats Campbell 41-24. Appalachian State defeats East Tennessee State 38-10. And Boise State defeats Georgia Southern 56-45. And Appalachian State plays Clemson next week. I don't think they'll beat Clemson because Clemson's defense is so fast. I don't think Appalachian State will score. But Clemson's offense is so bad, if Appalachian State by some chance scores 17, they might win the game. Northwestern defeats Miami of Ohio 13-6. And then, in my opinion, the only Saturday night game worth even talking about, Notre Dame defeats Texas A&M 23-13. Of course, Notre Dame has a former Duke quarterback as their quarterback now. This was A&M's first game post Jimbo Fisher, who left them in complete shambles. But the Fighting Irish get the win 23-13. And North Carolina struggling to beat Minnesota after they go out and get Max Johnson shows you another reason why Dabo won't use the transfer portal. One of the reasons why Dabo won't use it, he says it's disrespecting to your team and to your players, because when you go out and get somebody to come in and start, you're basically telling your whole entire roster you're not good enough to start. And yeah, I recruited you, but you suck, so I'm going to get somebody better. North Carolina had Connor Harrell on their team, and Mac Brown basically told Connor, you suck. We can't win with you. I'm going to go get Max Johnson. Now, of course, it doesn't matter because Max Johnson got hurt. But if you think Max Johnson is better than Connor Harrell, you have no confidence at all in Connor Harrell, because Max Johnson sucks. I bring that up because everybody thinks the reason why Clemson is no longer elite is because Dabo won't use the portal. And that might be true, but we don't know that. Until Dabo uses the portal, if he does, and it either works or it backfires, there's no proof that it would help. It's all opinion based. You could say, man, if we had Quinn Ewers, he'd have 500 passing yards yesterday. That's an opinion. You don't know that. So you can't factually say that it would benefit them if they used the portal. You can have an opinion and say it would, but you don't know that. So there is no proof that using the portal would make them better. It's all opinion based, and it will stay opinion based until Dabo uses the portal. If he does, which I don't think he will, but if he does, then you'll find out whether or not it would actually help or hurt. Until then, there's no stats to show it would improve. It's all opinion based. Now that everybody uses it, when it works, it's the greatest thing ever. When it backfires, it's the worst thing ever. Let's go ahead and get our dad joke of the day in here. There's a new show on skydiving for money. The best contestant wins $1 million. I think I would jump at the chance to do that. And that does it for today's Ref Brandon and the Todd family YouTube video. Until next time, it's Ref Brandon saying, just like in pro wrestling, life can be over by the count of 3. Tell your friends and family how much you love them. Bye.